All right, the Property Prequel, be in the know before you buy. Very exciting. Last episode for 2023. I can't believe 2024's already around the corner. I thought I'd switch it up this week. I'm really excited for this episode. I'm literally going to extract all the golden nuggets out of every single guest we had on the show for 2023. So if you're talking about ROI, return on investment, this would have to be that app that's going to prove the best ROI for the year. So I'm really excited to dive deep into that one. Running a solo app as well. So this will be cool. Could be something into the new year I might try. But yeah, I thought for the last step for the year, I'd make it an absolute banger and just give all the golden nuggets. And if there's any guests that you didn't listen to and, sticks out, something calls you to listen to it, just type their name in, check out the previous full ep. Most of the eps anywhere from sort of 40 minutes to about an hour and a half, full of nuggets. So there's a whole range of guests here, and this will be a really cool ep to just, uncover all the golden pieces for it. So we'll dive straight in, and I'm going to reflect back all the way back in January. It was pretty much close to this weather. It was bloody screaming hot. We started off the year in 2023 with one of an amazing. Well, he was actually my personal accountant as well. So we had Jeremy Yanazelli, and the episode was how to scale to 30 plus properties. The key thing I took away from that episode was the power of finance and structure. And one of my biggest, I guess we even used it as a micro clip, the red frog analogy. It blew up on TikTok and all that sort of jazz, but it was so true. And he's talking around the price of a red frog back in 20 years ago is a lot different to what it is now. And he basically highlighted the key, analogy around inflation and the importance of it. And there were some really key things around structuring loans if you want to scale. That was the real big takeaway. So listen to that one. Some really, obviously, some tax chat as well. But the key nugget out of that was the importance of finance and having clean structure with your loans. Next guest we had on was the amazing Kelly Davis. Episode Balancing Motherhood, Marriage, Entrepreneurship, and Property. Big thing from that episode, it was more of a holistic approach. I think staying aligned with your true self. And I just think everything she spoke about really aligned with what I'm trying to create, not only in our business, but also personal life. She really related everything she was doing, not only a business, but with the property, with the design choices she makes. It had to really align with her and her vision and things like that. So the big one with her was having some sort of vision, being bold, but then staying really aligned and true to yourself. So that will be an amazing one, especially for any females out there balancing all the things like life and motherhood and things like that. I just think that episode was so much value. We then pivoted into commercial, which we haven't had too much commercial experts on. We spoke to Adam Gribchik. And the key one around this one, the episode was the dangers of mental health in real estate. Big one from Adam I took away, really high performer in his industry. The overarching thing was more money doesn't actually equal more happiness. And there was a point in the episode where we actually spoke. He done like a crazy deal. And, he was talking around how much he was burnt out at one point and a lot of the money wasn't actually worth it. And he pivoted his life and he's created some really, really good habits. And he's actually excelled not only personally, but his business has gone to a new level as well. So the key thing I took out of that episode was that to focus on top performance, you need to focus on your habits and you need to put your health first. The better you can invest in yourself, the better you can invest into others. So give that one a listen. Really, really rated that episode. We moved on to the legend, Avi Khan, from $400 to now leading multiple businesses. So Avi, incredible story. Like, you got to listen to that one. Humble beginnings and was able to build a huge huge business, rent roll, a high performance team up there in the sort of southern and western suburbs of Brisbane. And he's continually going from strength to strength. So one thing I really liked around Avi was his approach to leadership and recruiting the right people. If you're trying to build anything, it's hard to do it alone. So the key takeaway I took out of that episode was the importance of having great people around you and really getting them into the right seats as well. He also spoke a little bit on what the key investors were focusing on in his rent roll. Super interesting stuff there. And a lot of it was all around, land to asset ratio, why land is still king. Not always looking at, some of the fancier suburbs, some of those suburbs just on the outside of those suburbs that might be, a little bit more rougher. They're going to take time to gentrify, and then you're going to see some really strong capital gains. So listen to that one with Avi Khan. We then moved into one of Melbourne's top real estate agents. He was up here on the Gold Coast. It was great to connect, but Zed Nasheed, how to stand out from a crowd and leave your mark. His energy, charisma, and just the belief he has in himself was actually the key thing I took away from Zed. Really amazing story. An immigrant family coming to the country with pretty much next to nothing, from a war-torn country as well, and to be able to create what he has created in not only a short amount of time, but in a really, really tough market down there in the prestige Melbourne. It's just phenomenal. So if you are someone within the real estate industry or wanting to get into the industry, I think nearly non-negotiable, you got to listen to that full ep just to get some inspiration. And the key thing I took away from him, believe in yourself. If you can't believe in you, how is anyone else supposed to? And then the other big one is simple as this. If you don't ask, you don't know. And he gave so many key stories about how he got some multi-million-dollar listings just from putting himself out there and just asking the question. So give that one a listen. Unreal story. We then pivoted into the amazing world of, the power couples and the building industry. I always found it fascinating, and we always had a lot of requests from guests to get more people on who are doing big things in property, just everyday people killing it. And we had an amazing couple from Brisbane, Becky and Francisco Smout. The episode was Creating Dream Life Through Property. One thing I loved around these guys was the key factors they put into the deal before they even transacted. So what you'll hear out of that episode in the full one is them identifying what constitutes a great block, what constitutes a blue chip area, what constitutes the profit on the back end and how they're going to achieve that. What are the market that they're selling into, that they're building? What do they want? So much research, and I think that episode gives a really good understanding of the minds of successful, flippers you could call them, in a certain area. So give that one a listen. And they spoke a lot even on marketing. So a lot of people are trying to get into the flip and sell game now. They've treated it like a business, and they're marketing themselves and their products out into the wider audience. So absolute knowledge bombs in that one. We then had Sammy Gordon from Australian Property Scout, the king of cash flow. And the episode was actually called Cash Flow is King. One thing took away from Sammy, just to preface. So Sammy achieved 30 properties by the age of 30 years of age, which is crazy feat. And the key thing he did in his strategy was purely around finding below market value assets, renovating them to a standard where he'll either rent out, and then when he rents them out, he was achieving above mortgage rates, so always in a positive cash flow position. And what that allowed him to do was not only service to the bank, but he was buying and identifying areas that were coming through a gentrification and then we're coming through a growth cycle. That way, he used the term, he can recycle equity. So if you want to learn around equity, recycling equity, listen to that one. And a big one I took away from him, again, this seems to be a key habit with some of the best investors who have multiple properties, is nailing the game of finance. You really, really have to structure your loans properly. You really have to have a good team around you, not only like in terms of like a buyer's agent, but also a broker, an accountant, having a team around you that are all moving towards the same path and they've been there. So that was the key thing I took around Sam's ep was having a really good team around you and just backing yourself and going for it. So it'd be scary to find out how many properties he's on now. That was about mid-year, and I'm sure he's got a few more properties up his belt. Next, we had Emil Juresic, 5 key lessons to step away from average. One thing around Emil, like you would have noticed from that app, not only the amount of F-bombs that were dropped, but probably the biggest thing I took away from Emil was not only his passion and energy, but he's bold. He takes risks. He realizes you've only got one life. And it really related to his new business venture that he's got going now with, the likes of like Simon Beard from Culture Kings and things like that, One Life Club. I can see where it comes from and it stems from. He lives and breathes the analogy of you only have one life, you might as well make the most of it. And again, crazy story from an immigrant country in Europe, like grew up with next to nothing, to be able to come to a country full of opportunity and make things happen. Like it's just phenomenal. And the last thing I took away from that hopefully adds some value to listeners today is stop focusing on other people's opinions. He was so bold in his approach to things, and that was the real thing I sort of kept with me after chatting to Emil was, who cares what other people think? If it feels right to you, just do it. And you only got one life. So give that one a listen, not only for property, but even just more so some injection of purpose in life. It was really, really good episode. We then spoke to a female powerhouse, Anya Forster, from Zephyr and Stone, amazing company. And the episode was 3 keys to maximize your property appeal. That was a masterclass episode. And the reason was this: to have someone with the knowledge that she had, I guess, outlining everything that buyers should be looking for when doing a renovation for profit. Just some of the things she was dropping was amazing. And it was just that little bit deeper level kind of stuff. One thing I did notice with her, and I've taken this into my personal property journey as well, is really, really taking note of floor plan and space. So looking at a property, what is the vision of the floor plan? Can you change anything with the floor plan? Not really going into property where the floor plan is locked and it doesn't capture the key fundamentals and, I guess, selling points of the block. So what you'll learn out of that episode is, I guess, floor plan, space, and a big one as well that she said was focusing on the market that you're hoping to sell in. So she always gave advice around, all right, if she's doing a design or a renovation in a certain area, she would consider what homes are selling for maximum price there and then really work backwards from that to try and appeal to the mass market. We moved on to Justin Nickerson, 5 ways to navigate buyer and seller behavior. So just a quick one, Justin Nickerson, literally one of Australasia's top auctioneers. He's actually a repeat guest, one of the very few who we've had on more than once. And the reason I love getting Justin on is just his not only knowledge from buyers and sellers, but just the whole market in general. So if you want some really good insight into buyer and seller behavior, why people make decisions the way they do, which is only going to allow you as a listener to improve your chances of not only securing a property at the right price, but securing the right property as well and being confident in the way you negotiate and handle deals and things like that. So he spoke, this is the big one, 3 emotions that kill deals. Number 1 was holding on to the past. Number 2 was pride. And number 3 was naivety, not understanding the market at all. So I love those 3 killers, emotions that kill a deal. It's just so valuable, and I've really applied that even into my business. So give that one a listen if you want to understand buyer and seller behavior. The next one was Tony and Michael Beisch, How to Renovate for Profit. These guys, absolute weapons at finding blue chip property under market value, applying some renovation, whether it's cosmetic or a knockdown rebuild, and then being able to sell that at a maximized profit. And key thing we took out of that episode was this: play the long game and then reinvest your profits wisely. So you would have heard, if you did listen to that, if you haven't, definitely listen to it. There were some stories in there when they were younger, and I think from memory they were sleeping on like their in-laws' floor or something like that. They were just having a crack. They started off and they didn't even do a house. They did like a duplex first. And then they just kept going and kept building. And then they were working full time and they were juggling so many things. But their vision that they had for the life that they want to create was so evident in the way they spoke. So if you're a person out there wanting to get into the property space as a buyer and create your dream life through property, that's got to be on the list to listen to, just because of the way they articulated the journey and what's to come as well. And always checking in on putting the ego away and just grinding away. As I said, they were sleeping on the floor while other people were doing all sorts of other things. And, look at them today. People think it comes easy, but what they uncovered was the journey to get there. We then moved into the rental space, which is really interesting in the property world. Obviously, the vacancy rates in Southeast Queensland are absolutely wild at the moment. It's nearly impossible to get a rental. And I wanted to uncover some of the key reasons why. So we spoke with Jonathan Bell, 3 reasons why tenants and landlords will benefit in 2023. Location does 80% of the heavy lifting with rentals and with sales. So one thing I took away from Jono, he scaled his business in Brisbane first, and now they're on the Gold Coast, Housemark. And one thing I took away from him was that like the market in terms of the rental at the moment, it is such an opportunist time as an investor in Southeast Queensland. If you can secure property at the right price and play the long game with it, the ability to rent that asset out at not only a good rent, but a premium rent, and have people fighting over it is just going to be there for most likely the next decade. We really spoke around supply and demand imbalance at the moment. So that's the real key one. And the golden nugget is, if you are someone looking to make some serious money through property, go back to the fundamentals, supply and demand ratio, looking at what constitutes a great location, and then being able to finance deals properly and really appeal to the market in the rental space. So give that one a listen if you do want to make some genuine profit out of property and hold for the long term. We then pivoted to the Buyers Agent Institute founder, Ben Handler, 5 habits to unlock your full potential. And look, that episode was unreal. Like, Ben is a very, very streamlined character. I love the way he thinks and acts. He's gone through the heavy corporate life, and then he's sort of dumbed it down a bit now, and he's got an amazing brand and personal brand online and things like that. But one thing I took away from that episode, and I really, really love this, was he said, if you're stuck in your own head, you're dead. And it was as simple as he spoke for a good 10 to 20 minutes around mindset and the reason he sees a lot of really, really educated people who on paper should be doing better than what they are. He spoke around the importance of having your mindset in check. And then what that done was, once you have that in check, you can apply that to whatever, not only business, but to property as well. So that episode was some absolute masterclass on, I guess, how to buy property, negotiation tips. But to be honest, a lot of it was around maximizing your potential that you're here on this planet. And he's a very holistic thinker. And as I said, that was the big one I took away from that app was, if you're in your own head, you're dead. You really want to make sure you're always checking in on your mindset each and every day. We then had Matt Adekponya. So that was a cool app. He was one of our clients. He was a professional athlete. Matty's app was called The Beginner's Guide to Buying Property. And Matty's app was pure education and learning for him. And he gave some really good insight. If you are someone who's starting in the property journey, I reckon that'd be a good listen. Also, if you're someone who's coming from maybe professional sport, or you play maybe the entertainment industry, or you're in a career where you're earning some decent money for a short period of time, and then that tap dries up. So he gave some really good insight into, what he wish he did earlier in life, having an athlete mentality in the way he buys property, and then really educating yourself. And he gave some absolutely banger tips around what he used to do at open homes. He used to even observe and just go to them and listen to what the agent would be saying, listen to the buyer behavior at the open homes, and just immersed himself into learning. So he really applied that knowledge that he took as an athlete into buying property. And then we came on to the back end of the year. We had 3 absolute banger eps to finish. We had Nick McDonald, high school dropout, to one of Queensland's best builders. And Nick McDonald, for anyone who doesn't know, you would have heard their absolute wise advice, but he's the founder of MacTech Constructions, one of Australia's and Queensland's best builders. I think they got like Australian House of the Year or Villa of the Year or something. They won Queensland Duplex of the Year, all sorts of stuff. You'd have to check it out. But some of his designs, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're just on another scale. And the crazy thing was, I actually didn't know too much around Nick before we spoke, but unreal story. Like, literally dropped out of school, was literally bumming around. In his own words, he was bumming around doing nothing. And then he just fell into a trade, and then, worked hard for a bit. And then he really applied himself. And 2 key things I took away. Personally, the application of self to something that you want is key. So if there is something you want, doesn't matter what your past is, anyone can do whatever they want in life if you apply yourself. For him, he didn't even finish school. He completely dropped out and was bumming around. How can he run one of the biggest building companies in Australia? Like, it's just phenomenal. And it's true testament that it does come down to self-belief and just having a crack. He was so naive, he even said it, that most of his success came just because he just thought, well, what do I got to lose? The second thing, he spoke around the 3 key features of a build. Number 1 was wow factor. So, like for instance, he used the unique glass edging for some of his pools. 2 was the dynamic that COVID brought in terms of what's important inside a property. So he spoke around the importance of having like wellness features. Most of his builds now, potential sauna, looking at home gyms, things like that. So that was really, really interesting. And then the third was location and aspect. So all of his builds, non-negotiable, are in blue chip locations, but most of all, they've got some sort of really good view corridor or aspect. So that was a huge one, took away from that one. We then moved on to Eddie and Perry Beath. Just the everyday Gold Coast family crushing the development game. Absolute crazy story again. Power couple just having a crack on the Gold Coast, just doing their thing. Crazy thing is with them, I didn't realize how much knowledge they actually had immersely in property. So some of the tips they gave, like I remember, for instance, Perry spoke a little bit on reinvesting cash. So every time they profited, they just reinvested back into the next deal, reinvested, delayed gratification, I remember Eddie sort of talking around, if you're a young guy out there or girl, maybe the Hilux can wait, 1 to 3 years. Just keep focusing on your vision. If you got a goal, keep at it. And the big one I took away from them was around block position and floor plan. So they mentioned they really liked sites or property where the block wasn't so much smack bang in the middle. They liked it on, if it's kind of near a fence line, if you've got good setback from the street. Reason is because they like to extend and they liked putting all the goodies, as I said, in the backyard. So pool, they always make sure the living areas, all of the master. If there's a key aspect at the backyard, that's what they want to capture. Always looking at adding value through, as I said, like renovation. If you can keep the slab, things like that, the roof line, some really, really golden nuggets. If you're someone out there who wants to take this property flipping thing seriously, go listen to that app, because the amount of wisdom in that app blew my mind. And then the last step and the last guest we had for the year was, of course, the old Darren Palmer. And it was a home design masterclass. So obviously, anyone doesn't know Darren Palmer, obviously been on the block on Channel 9 for years. But the key thing with Darren, he talks the talk, but he walks the walk. And he is living proof that, what you see is what you get. So we unpacked. He was another repeat guest. So we had him on previously in 2022, I think it was as well. And the key thing I took away from Darren was that he buys himself, he renovates himself, he does his own flips, he does his own buy and holds, he's doing development, he was talking around, he's doing like a unit block at the moment. And so he's living proof that he's doing what he preaches. And the key thing we did with the second app we did, the most latest one in 2023, the home design masterclass really spoke to learning more about the inside of a property. Key takeaways were this: the importance of natural light, the combination of not only neutral tones, so your oaks, your beiges, things like that, but what he does, he subtly combines your neutral tones with vibrant colors. And the way to do that is with things like complementary pieces of art, maybe cushions, maybe a throw-over blanket, just really simple things. But when I listened to him speak, I kind of looked at property and the internal features and the design a lot different now. So again, some of the wisdom he shared in there was not just your surface level stuff. We got pretty deep. I wanted to extract as much as I could from Darren. So yeah, he spoke so much around, those features of a property, what's hot, the trends that are gone and the trends that are staying. And he just sort of gave some really good insight there to help anyone in the property space. So when you look at all the guests throughout the year, we've gone from builders, we've gone from accountants, we've gone from people just flipping and selling, we've gone from interior designers, and we've gone from buyers agents, real estate professionals. What we captured and what we uncovered throughout the whole year was that a lot of the guests and the success that they have, I realize a lot of it is to do with self first. The key observation from every single guest in 2023 was that they had an unwillingness of desire to chase what they want. And not only that, they won't really let anyone get in the way, and they don't really care around what anyone thinks. They just make it happen. That was sort of the biggest one. And the second one, more property related, was location played a part in a lot of the guests' choices and what constitutes a really good asset and deal. Location was always at the forefront. I noticed a lot of them use the word floor plan and natural light a lot as well. A lot of them also mentioned this, which was really, really interesting. You got to remember, 2023, we had the interest rate rise of doom, and it just kept going and going and going. And there was a lull from about April to I'd say around July where it was looking doom and gloom for a lot of buyers out there and sellers. What I identified with every single guest that we had this year who was killing it in property was they didn't care about the market and the conditions. They made calculated decisions from where they were at in their journey. And they understood that markets fluctuate. Markets go up, markets go down, but at the end of the day, they banked on the commodity of shelter being a necessity for people in society. And with that knowledge, they didn't really care too much around what was happening in the noise on the news. Again, they went back to what was important to them, staying focused, and most of all, taking action when it counted. So an absolute amazing year. I'm just thinking about it now, like super, super grateful to not only have the quality of guests we had, but also just the conversations, the questions, the answers. It's just an amazing space that I'm really grateful that this has all come about, the Property Prequel. I hope you enjoyed that episode and got some absolute fire out of it. If you've got a friend or someone who maybe is thinking about getting into property or someone who is in the property space and you want to treat them with a gift this Christmas, easiest gift, it's the ROI of absolute doom, is send them this app and they'll get the whole year in 30, 40 minutes extracted. So hopefully that added some value. And to finish on, I just want to say a huge thank you more so to anyone who has listened to the show, who has subscribed, and most of all, even if you've someone who hasn't really engaged on it, but you've maybe got something out of it and you've shared it to one person or a few people, that's what it's all about. The purpose of this show is to really give buyers more knowledge before they go out and buy. And I feel there's a real gap in the market to give some genuine advice to people out there to take that leap, to I guess, really have a vision for what they want and go after it, and then listen to people who are maybe sitting in the seat that they're in now and they just need some inspiration or some guidance to get there. So I know podcasts and listening and upskilling my knowledge has changed my life. So hopefully this show has done that for you too. And if it has, let me know. Flick me a message. It's really fulfilling, all the messages I get and the praise we get around the show. It means a lot. So I do appreciate it. And as I said, if this show or any of the apps have added any value, go make someone else's day and send them some value as well, because that's what learning's all about, is sharing the knowledge with everyone. So thank you to everyone who's listened. Thanks to the team at Social Lab. Shout out for this studio. They've been great all year. Emily on the decks has been amazing as always. She's an absolute gun. And Jamila as well, who's helped me with the Q&A apps. She's one of the best out there. She's really, really knowledgeable in her space. And she's been learning a lot just by sitting on the episodes with me. So thank you to those two amazing women. And most of all, just thank you to everyone who listened. And remember to, if you want to find out more over the break, we've got already, I think there's three or so guests already locked in for the new year, which is exciting. If there's anyone you want on, flick us a message. But if you want to stay connected over the break, just follow us on social media, just Matt_Srama. You can check out the Srama group as well. Obviously, that's our buyers agency business helping Gold Coast buyers secure property. And if you do have any, you want any questions answered or whatever, I'm going to be taking a break of the potty till sort of January. So I'll be more than willing to, I'll probably be getting the itch to provide some value somewhere. So just reach out if you've got any questions. And stay tuned for 2024. Have an amazing Christmas and New Year. And thanks again for listening.